Our next presenter is a gentleman by the name of James Grant Hay. He's the Managing Director of an organisation called InShot. And you can look up InShot on the web. James is an entertainment marketing professional and branded entertainment pioneer whose career spans 8 years consultancy experience with brand owners and content producers, both here in Australia and overseas, across all manners of screen-based media disciplines, including motion pictures, television, video games, virtual worlds, online video, mobile content and social media. It's quite an exhaustive list. Most recently, he's been evaluating branded virtual goods applications. So I'd like to welcome for the first time to the Facebook Developer Garage, James Grant Hay. Thanks, James.
Thank you, everyone. That's great to see a large audience here today. Thanks especially go out to Craig Hodges for organising the Facebook event, and thank you prior to what I'm about to deliver from KK. I guess what I wanted to talk about today, mindful of the audience, there are developers here today amongst the audience, also marketers. So just carrying on, if we could just pull up the Dell campaign, actually. Could we get visual? Thanks, up there. Because I'd like to sort of keep the flow going here. And just moving on, extending on from what KK was talking about here. The Dell image there of that campaign, and KK talked about loosening up, from a brand point of view, loosening up, letting control. And that's a good example there of, obviously, engagement, which I'll touch a little bit more about. But what I wanted to talk about today, I'm just mindful of the audience, and one audience member spoke earlier. It's all very well, you and I, we've got our personal pages and we're in Facebook and we're seeing all these applications. But do we really know what are the successful formulas of those applications? What I wanted to talk about is obviously the opportunities that are emerging for developers. Many of these applications that are coming out have been driven and created by the developers, but perhaps they have not been commissioned by advertisers in the branded world. And that's sort of the experiences which I'm having. A bit more about me. Craig provided you with an introduction there. I mean, InShot is a company which has been at the intersection of branded entertainment or branded content for about 4 years now. It was a startup company. As Craig said, we essentially act as an intermediary or a connector between third-party content producers as well as brand owners. There's now a huge demand taking place in the advertising world for brands, for budgets, to seek opportunities with third-party content producers. In the film world, it's scripted opportunities. We've seen a lot of reality TV, courtesy of Mark Burnett Productions. Many of you would have seen The Apprentice and those sorts of programs. There are huge components of brands involved in those productions because of the opportunity for advertiser-funded content. The brands are becoming involved. The same, obviously, in the film world, and I just mentioned television there. Our recent experiences have also been in-game advertising, obviously, which is a huge growth area. In-game advertising is going to be in the billions by 2010, which is not too far away. So for us, for InShot, our interest in the extension of experiences into virtual worlds, be it Second Life, and now most recently the phenomenon of social media is something we're really interested in. The reason for this was our agenda. We take the point of view that with the decline of the traditional television advertising model, particularly with the TV ad model, is we're now seeing a decline of the 30-second spot commercial. So there's a new model which is taking place, which is in transition at the moment. And that's undergoing a change of convergence, if you will, whereby we take the point of view that all advertising in the future will be found in content. Our interest most recently has come in the form of online video, looking at what YouTube is doing, trying to monetize the constant millions of user-generated videos on there and trying to find an opportunity to monetize that content. This is also a huge opportunity for obviously digital storytellers in that space. There are applications out there for some of you who don't know, such as hypervideo technologies. These technologies enable a user to actually click on a product inside the video content. For example, on television, if you were watching interactive TV, you would be able to, let's say if you were watching FTV on Foxtel, you would be able to click on, if you were watching Victoria's Secret, you'd be able to click on a garment which would take you back ultimately to a point of purchase. So the value proposition of that, again, after this event, you can go out and look at that hyper video known as hotspotting. It's a huge opportunity, but that's just really an introduction. Our interest, as I say, is really the extension of that. Again, ever mindful of the developer audience here today, we're really talking about what opportunities will emerge from that, because again, the market for branded content is going to be huge, because we're also, if you're following what I'm saying, we're shifting from a model of interruption. If you think about the television model, where the 30-second spot commercial interrupts the programming. So we're shifting to a model more along the lines of an invitational model. For those of you who have Foxtel and Foxtel's IQ technology, the Foxtel device has a red button which provides for an invitational opportunity between yourself as the viewer to the advertiser to go through what's known as a telescopic form of advertising, which will take you back to various points. But again, I'm digressing. The opportunity here today is really to inform those developers amongst you and obviously the audience online as to the growth and demand for new brand budgets in the area of what I'm particularly interested in is known as branded virtual good applications. These aren't applications so much as driven by developers and their own ideas along the lines of creating social goods or GIFs, as what was pioneered early on at the beginning when the API opened up last year. And what KK's presented here in front of us is a really good example of that. Obviously, Dell have got savvy. There's also a recent campaign we are aware of, which KK also mentioned, which was BMW. Obviously, getting the involvement of the user involved in a campaign, creating that high level of engagement. So the opportunity is obviously for the brands to become heavily involved in commissioning these types of campaigns. In short, a little bit more about us. It's been our experiences when we work with content producers, and we would see a developer as a content producer. We've been evaluating for the last 5 years content in the film world, our organisation, and basically we proofread scripts to the point where we evaluate the ad inventory content in those scripts. And we look for so-called brand integration opportunities within inside the script. So we're very much, when we talk about branded virtual goods and products, we're very much talking about these are hand-on physical products in the real world. But now that's shifting, obviously, to a virtual experience. There are also applications which we're looking at which will, in those different spaces, enable us to digitally insert virtual goods into video content. That's something we're also very much interested in. But again, in the social media world, obviously, a lot of the branded opportunities, because we act as a connector between the brand owner and the content producer, we come into and have access to brand owner budgets, not only here in Australia but overseas. We're currently working on an online video webisode for IKEA with a producer in New York. And it's a huge campaign. It's a celebrity shopping webisode. Jeff Goldblum is in it. The entire webisode series is underwritten by IKEA and other assortment of brands, which, for confidentiality, I can't go entirely into it. But for those of you who are a younger audience who know the audience of, say, a webisode like Lonely Girl 15, which was a huge success, which played out over YouTube, and more recently programs such as Kate Modern, which played out over Bebo, the value of those integrations is quite enormous.